Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Game News Roundup. Well, as you've seen in the title, Nintendo officially announced the Nintendo Switch 2 has globally sold through to consumers more than 6 million units in the 7 weeks after launch, which would be, let me think, what did I put here? The week ending July 19th. So sometime the week ending July 19th, the Switch 2 sell-through was more than 6 million units. And Nintendo said Nintendo Switch 2 sales grew at a strong pace following the launch, with sell-through exceeding 6 million units globally in the 7 weeks after launch. Currently, demand for the Nintendo Switch 2 is exceeding supply in many countries, and we regret the inconvenience this is causing our consumers. We will continue to strengthen our production and supply systems to deliver as much Nintendo Switch 2 hardware as possible. But interesting of note, despite the record-breaking launch, where is it? I can find this. It's not too far down, I don't think. Nope, not quite. There it is. Okay, so units shipped. The forecast remains the same despite the record-breaking launch, which, if you want to know, 6 million units sold in 7 weeks. The PS5 and PS4 shipped, not sold, 4.5 million units by the end of December of the year they came out. So from their launch in November to December 31st, 2020 for the PS5 and 2013 for the PS4, 4.5 million. So at a bare minimum, was that 4.5 million to, yeah, it's about a third higher at least, the Switch 2 as compared to the PS5 and PS4. Mind you, of course, at launch, a lot of it's not just about demand, it's also about how much you can ship. And demand has generally speaking, most of the time, demand will outstrip the launches for most consoles. Unless there's really no demand and whoops, they overship. And also the Switch 1 has shipped, we can just use here. The Switch 1 has shipped 153.1 million units. Again, these are as of June 30th, 2025, and the Switch 2, if you're wondering, was 5.82 million units shipped as of June 30th, 2025. While our estimates at VG Charts are at 5.44 million units, which actually we had to adjust up our initial estimates, which were at 5.01 million, following Nintendo's earnings report. Because 5.44 million was through our first 5 weeks through our July 5th. Another 2 weeks for 7 weeks of data will bring it over 6 million. Because we can see here 5.44 million. We're talking 400,000-ish, give or take, per week sold, depending on stock available. And that will bring it over 6 million in its 7th week. And then we'll see once it tops, 7 million, 8 million, etc., etc. We'll see how sales go in the coming weeks and months. As always, stay tuned to VG Charts if you want to keep up on the latest gaming sales, whether it's our estimates or official numbers from Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, and other third parties out there, whether it's hardware sales or software sales. As we now officially only report on software sales from publishers and developers, while we do our own hardware estimates. We release them monthly and then do any specific adjustments when more data in the future becomes available, whether it's Nintendo's earnings report, Microsoft's earnings report, Sony's earnings report. And the Switch 1 is knocking on the DS for the second best-selling video game platform of all time. We have 151.1 million sold through, while shipment-wise, it's at 153.1 million units, for a gap of about 2 million between sold through and shipped. And if you're wondering, 2 million, really? That seems awfully high. Well, the previous quarter, at the end of March, Nintendo had announced nearly 150 million sell-through versus 100 and... Where is it? Yeah, here we go. Sorry. Versus 152.12 million units as of March 2025. If you're wondering, again, nearly 150 million, you're talking about a little over 2 million, 2.13 million gap minimum between shipped and sold through, confirmed by Nintendo at the end of March, which we now have it at about 2 million. And going forward, barring any other information that comes out from Nintendo, if we actually get sell-through numbers, we're going to be closing that gap between sell-through and shipped on VG Charts. at least by 100,000 or 200,000 every single quarter, every 3 months. Just keep shrinking it, and then obviously any unit is shipped will eventually be sold anyway. And yeah, so if you want to know, we're at 151.1 million for the Switch 1 versus 154.002 million for the DS. So sell-through wise, we're a little bit under 3 million to go, but shipment wise, according to Nintendo Shipment, we have a little under 1 million to go for the Switch to pass the DS. Now, the biggest question, will it pass the DS? Well, of course it is. I mean, Nintendo matches their forecast, and the Switch 1 will reach 156.62 million units shipped if Nintendo's matches their forecast exactly at 4.5 million units for the current fiscal year, which obviously will top the 154 million of the DS. Now the question is, can they get another 4.5-ish million to surpass the PS2? We will see. We shall see. It depends how long Nintendo's going to keep stock going. And if you have missed it, the Switch 1 price did increase in the US and Canada. Most likely, I mean, they said due to market conditions, but the conditions are probably the tariffs in place. Nintendo and Microsoft also increasing the price of the Xbox in early May. Neither of them want to eat into their profits. So even Nintendo increased the price of the Switch 1. The Switch Lite is $30 more expensive. It's $230. The Switch 1 is $40 more expensive, $340. And the Switch OLED, $50 more expensive, $400. So now the Switch OLED is $400. The Switch 2 is $450. So you can buy a Switch OLED, or you can spend $50 more and get the next generation Switch 2. Obviously, it doesn't come with an OLED screen, but it's far more powerful specs-wise. And as of right now, Nintendo is not increasing the price of the Switch 2. Though they did not rule it out. They said possibly, depending on market conditions, they might be forced to increase the price of the Switch 2 in the future. But we shall see how things go with that. So yeah, Switch 2, 5.82 million units shipped as of June 30th. And over 6 million units sell through as of its 7th week. And there's also 8.67 million units of game software sold on the Switch 2 in its first month. Mind you, there really wasn't anything available. I mean, so little that these are the best-selling games on the Switch 2. As you can see here, there's only one game listed, and that's Mario Kart World with 5.63 million units sold compared to 5.82 million units shipped as of June 30th. Yeah. I'm pretty sure at this point, these only show games that have sold over 1 million units on the Switch 2. And obviously, a lot of games actually run better on the Switch 2 than they do the Switch 1. So another reason to buy the Switch 2 besides exclusives are the fact that games will be running better on it. Most games. And the best-selling, if you're wondering, Switch 1 game is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. 68.8 million units sold, followed by Animal Crossing New Horizons with 48 million. Smash Bros. Ultimate with 36.5 million. Breath of the Wild with 33 million. Mario Odyssey, 29.5 million. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, a little over 27 million units shipped. And if you're wondering, that is the second best-selling Pokemon game of all time, following the original Gen 1, Pokemon Red, Blue, and Green. The next best-selling game on the Switch, Pokemon Sword and Shield, with a little under 27 million. Tears of the Kingdom, with nearly 22 million. And we got Mario Party with 21 million. And Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, 18.3 million units sold. This would be as the top 10 games selling on the Switch 1. Now, let's see what else we got of note. I know that we do know, if you missed it also, the Switch 2 sold over 3.5 million units sell-through in its first 4 days. So June 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Sold 3.5 million units worldwide. And, of course, more than 6 million units sold in its first 7 weeks. And here we go. Hardware sell-through and annual players users. Oops, we got a bot. Okay, that's fun. That's fine. If you're wondering, I am streaming this live on Twitch, twitch.tv/TrunksWD. I try to stream a few days a week. Usually it's gaming Let's Plays, but we discuss gaming news usually at the start of most streams. So yeah, if you can see here, global sell-through of the different units, while there's no specific number shown here, the right here, April through June, right here, the Switch 2, and then boom, Switch 1, and this is the previous fiscal year, a year ending June. So we've got just a wee bit of a difference here. Oh, actually, wait, no, sorry. Is that right? I'm trying to think. Fiscal year 2024, 25, and 26 here. And then obviously annual playing users. So annual number of people playing on the Switch would have been the Switch 1 was at 129 million, dropped slightly to 128 million over the last 12 months, which obviously does include the Switch 2. You're thinking, that's awfully close. The number of users who have playing on the Switch in the last year and the Switch 1. But obviously, some Switch consoles have more than one user. So yeah, next year, the hardware sales for Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, and the number of consumers who are playing games on the system. It would be nice if we got an actual number here on the global sell-through, but what can you do? Oh yeah, also, yeah. Now I understand it. Wow, I had a bit of a brain fart. This is global sell-through April to June for these different fiscal years. Specifically the 3-month period. Right. Duh. Not a whole 12 months. So yeah, April to June of this year, which is Nintendo's 2026 fiscal year, you see Switch 2. Then obviously Switch 1 has been dropping, and they do see OLED. Was a big chunk is shrunk? I think the most compared to the others. And the Switch Lite seems to be shrinking the least. But again, it was already the smallest units sold. So yeah, the graph on the right shows a trend in annual playing users for Nintendo Switch and Switch 2. The number of annual players users between July 2024 and 25 has remained above 100 million. Well, yeah, well under 128 million. And we were able to launch new hardware in an environment where many consumers are playing the Nintendo Switch. So yeah. And then, 5.82 million units shipped here. Sell-in, if you're wondering, is shipped. So, sales status of hardware and software sell-in. 5.82 million shipped again for the Switch 2 in June. And 0.98 million units shipped for the Switch 1, which is down 53.5%. This is April, May, and June. 0.98 million versus 2.1 million the previous year. Software sales, though, for the Switch 1 are only down 20% from 30 to 24 million. And again, this Mario Kart World, 5.63 million units shipped. And you can see here, hardware quarterly unit sales trend, 5.82 million for the Switch 2 shipped, 0.98 million. You can see previous quarters, 4.82 million would be the Switch 1 in its holidays. The last holiday quarter, October through December 2024. So yeah, so far we've discussed sell-through, which is the number of units purchased by consumers and the number of consumer accounts that have actually used software on the Switch 1 and Switch 2. This slide introduces sell-in, which is the number of units sold by Nintendo Group to its business partners, shipped. Looking at hardware sales volume in the first quarter of this fiscal year, Nintendo Switch 2 sales shipped 5.82 million units, as I mentioned before. And then if you're wondering, upcoming games, obviously Mario Kart World and Switch 2 Welcome Tour were the launch titles, already out now, but obviously not the time for this report here. Donkey Kong Bonanza, July 17th, 2025 is when that came out, and then Dragon Drive comes out August 14th. We also got Kirby Air Riders coming out later this year. So we got Splatoon Raiders coming out, new Hyrule Warriors, Metroid Prime 4, Pokemon Legends ZA is coming out later this year. So yeah, I'm trying to think what else we got here. Yeah. First party titles for Nintendo Switch. Pokemon Friends. Pokemon Legends ZA October 16th. Metroid Prime 4, they're still saying 2025. Next year, we've got Rhythm Heaven Groove, Tamagotchi Life, and Pokemon Champions, all confirmed for next year. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of games. Nintendo tends to not announce their games, most of their games, years in advance. I realize Metroid Prime 4 was announced, I don't even know how many years ago. Many, many years ago. But generally speaking, Nintendo tends to announce their games less than a year before they finally do come out. For the most part. There are exceptions. So I think that's going to be about... Oh, yeah, also, if you don't know, there are Switch 2 editions for games that are coming out on the Switch 1. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom got specific Switch 2 editions, which were... it's like $10 more, $20 more for those if you own the Switch 1 version. There's also Mario Party Jamboree plus Jamboree TV. Same with Kirby's Forgotten Land, and Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 are cross-gen between Switch 1 and 2. And that... Oh, also, I know people are up in arms about the whole... Is it game key cards or whatever for the Switch 2? The majority of sales on the Switch are digital at this point. Fiscal year 26, in its first quarter, 59.3 million games, 59.3%, excuse me, of games sold were digital on the Switch 1 and 2, and it was 62.9% in the previous quarter, and you can see there, yes, and then here is the holiday quarter, so it was a bit lower, but generally speaking, if Nintendo digital sales are around 60%, imagine how high they are on Xbox and PlayStation, and PC's pretty much at 100%. But yeah, digital sales in the first quarter decreased by 13.5%, and account for 59.3% of total sales. Digital sales declined year on year mainly because of a decrease in sales of downloadable versions of packaged software and the effects of a stronger yen. Let's see. I think that's about it to know. I guess also, if you love theme parks and you are a Nintendo fan, Universal Epic Universe is now open in Orlando, Florida, with a Super Nintendo World, Nintendo-themed land. You got the one land which is Mario themed, and there's also a Donkey Kong themed area, I believe. Mind you, I have not been to Epic Universe yet. Someday in the future. I'm assuming it's super crowded, so I'm gonna wait till it's not quite as crazy crowded. But I do enjoy going to some theme parks. I do. But here, it's neither here nor there. So yeah, TLDR, 5.82 million units of the Switch 2 were shipped as of June 30th, 2025, and over 6 million units were sold in 7 weeks. And the Switch 1 is at 153.1 million units shipped. Ouija Chart Estimates has it at 151.1 million units sold. And it is knocking on the door of the Nintendo DS to become the second best-selling video game platform of all time. And we shall see if it surpasses the PS2 to become the best-selling video game platform of all time. And the Switch 1 got a price increase in the US and Canada. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching. And stay tuned next time for some more gaming news, gaming sales, and gaming industry information.